Well, it's that... There you go. Well, it's that time again where we answer people's questions, mainly on the Gerson Therapy. Now, people who know this channel know my feelings on the Gerson Therapy, that it's a huge crock, it's a scam, the treatment itself doesn't work, doesn't have any scientific treatment to prove it works at all, and yet you only have to look at some of my videos on the Gerson Therapy and some of the comments you get, and it generally looks like people are reading from the same hymn sheet. In fact, they are, because at the end of the day it's all just propaganda, and yet these people call me the one that's brainwashed rather than, you know, take a good hard look at themselves in the mirror, and then they don't understand science and how it works. And but yeah, so anyway, we've got some questions, and this comes from Jeff Dunton, or we're just going to call him Jeff. So Jeff starts, okay, so I have some questions for you if you don't mind. So you're feeling like cancer treatments work. What would be your definition of work? What scientific studies are you referencing? Who did them and who paid for them? Jeff, this isn't a usual question. You're basically asking the question of, well, aren't all these, you know, modern medicines all funded by, like, you know, pharmaceutical companies? Yes, of course, that's what they're in the business of doing. Of course they're going to research new drugs and new types of treatment. And then what about universities that carry out medical studies and other research organisations that do this exact same thing? And not only that, remember, there are hundreds of thousands of different research companies all trying to do the same thing, all competing to do that different thing. You know, if one company discovers a cure, then they've done it. And unless another company can say, hold on a second, we've got another cure which can do it better, then they win. And that's how it works. And, you know, I know you're going to come back saying, oh, but cures don't make them money. Then explain all the cures that are out there now. You just have to go out and talk to your chemist and ask them for cures on certain things. And, you know, they'll, you know, stuff that you can buy over the counter, that will help you and cure you. Simple as that. But, you know, these people, oh no, you know, cures don't make money. Yeah. But that's what you're really asking. If you're not, then I you know, do apologise. But, you know, I've come across people like you before who ask a very loaded question. But now you're going for who pays for them. Well, of course, as I said at the beginning, it's the pharmaceutical companies, medical companies. There are hospitals that carry out medical research. There are universities that carry out medical research. Again, there are research companies all carrying out medical research. I do not see a problem. Again, if you're saying, oh, you know, who pays for this? You know, let's give you exactly the same thing. What if the Gerson Therapy paid for a study? Because that's exactly the same thing that you are criticising the, you know, pharmaceutical companies for. You know, it doesn't go anywhere. And then you go definition of work. I think, again, what you've got to do is you've got to say, does this cure work? Is it doing what it says it does? Which is basically, is it causing the cancer cells to, you know, reduce in size or even go away? And guess what? The current cure rate, I believe, for cancer, depending on cancer, is around about 65 to about 75%, again depending on cancers, and there's lots of cancers out there which have 100% cure rates, because again there are wide, vast, different varieties of cancer, all that do different things, affect different parts of the body differently. Again, as I said, there are some cancers out there with a good 100% cure rate, particularly the ones in the early stages of cancer. I'm just trying to think, what's it called now? But I can't remember it. I think it's yeah, tongue cancer. Recently, there was a I can't remember it now. Oh, bugger! I can't remember it now. But basically, they just announced, oh yeah, guess what? We've got a new. We found a way to, so radiation can, treatment can work better on it. And the cure rate went from, I think it was about 60% to, I believe it was a 70% jump, I think it was. So again, things are working, things are going forward. So again, I think you're massively misunderstanding you're buying into the, the culture that, pharmaceutical companies are bad because they're big. Well, yes, they have to be big because, again, think about the massive amounts of drugs that they create on a daily basis and are used on a daily basis, not only by chemists, but in hospitals as well. They've got to replenish those supplies, and guess what? The only way you're going to do that is with a big company and or firm. How many cancer patients have you spoken to that did conventional? How many cancer patients have you spoken with Gerson? Have you been to the institute to speak with them or read the Gerson books? No. Basically. And if you want to refer to the Gerson books, I'm going to refer you to an article from skeptic.com, which basically says that when some scientists looked into Max Gerson's original investigation in his book, they found that all the evidence that he presented was incredibly unscientific. His test hadn't been carried out in scientific ways or even conditions, and they basically couldn't condone any of the stuff that he'd come up with in the books because, again, the test hadn't been carried out scientifically. That should be the end of that question, but I know it won't be. Do you know what the costs are on that 100,000? To know for sure they are lining their pockets. It doesn't seem that 1,000 seems like a lot of margin, Again, the Gerson Therapy has its fingers in many, many pies. Again, they're also selling books, they're selling supplements, there are courses that they run. Again, there are treatments on, there are courses that they run as well. So they've got lots of fingers, so there's more than that coming into their, pockets. Next question, what do you recommend someone to do to cure or prevent cancer? Obviously not the Gerson Therapy, but you think all natural therapies are bad and have no merit. I think none of the natural therapies at the moment have absolutely no merit, unless you can scientifically prove in lab conditions that yes, they can actually work. Then congratulations, you've actually got actual proof and evidence. One of the things I know someone will probably bring up is, oh, what about cannabis? It's not cannabis they're looking at, it's cannabinoids, which are a segment of cannabis. And again, when we're talking about the chemical compounds, again, when you take that out of the picture, you're looking at, I think cannabinoid, is a very small amount. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's a very small amount of what actually makes up the, the chemical substance that's in cannabis. Again, medical researchers are looking into that, and at the moment, everything at the moment has all been preclinical trials, animal testing, things like that. And there's been good results, but at the moment, people going, oh, it cures cancer. No. And I know someone's going to put, 20, papers that prove, cannabis cures cancer, except in not a single one of those tests does the paper say they cured cancer. Now, if you look at the actual test, what they're saying, they say, oh, there was a reduction in the size of the cancer, this sort of stopped growing for a while, things like that, which are good results, but it didn't cure cancer. And again, this is part of people jumping to conclusions. When someone gets cancer, it doesn't seem logical that they need more chemicals in their body. Wouldn't you think they'd need less? Okay, so when you get sick, what do you take? Medicine. Oh, that's right, that's chemicals that you put into your body. Human beings are chemical beings, and at the end of the day, you know, those chemicals that, you know, these evil pharmaceutical companies make do work. You know, and it would be very easy for scientists to go, well, it doesn't work, you know, here's the evidence to prove it. And I know you're going to say, oh, but, you know, the FDA is, you know, no, no, no. It doesn't work like that. I'm going to do a video on the whole ridiculousness people have about, you know, FDA and, you know, other such similar organisations they claim, you know, other countries that are suppressing cures and keeping, you know, evidence down, whatever, you have it, you name it. But anyway, there you go. Anyway, I hope that's answered some of your questions. I know it probably hasn't, because I know you've probably got more.